Welcome back to Boomer's Playground. And today we will be going over data types and possibly interaction, depending on how long data types takes us. All right, so a data type is just a value in JavaScript. It always has like a certain type. So a string or a number. There are 8 basic data types. We're going to cover them in general, and then the next chapters we'll go into far more detail about them. So we can put any type in a variable. JavaScript is a non-typed language, so when you have quotes around something, it's considered a string. And if you don't have quotes, and if they're numbers, then that would just be an actual number. So a key part about this is, so that's a string because we have the quotes around it. That's a number because we don't have the quotes around it, and it is a number. Do you think this is a string or a number? So this is actually going to be a string because we have the quotes around it. Even though there's numbers inside of it, the quotes are making it a string. Another thing is if it's not numbers, you can't just like, if you do this, it's looking for a variable called any. This would not be a string. So it either needs to be numbers with no quotes, or it needs to be quotes around whatever you want that string to be. And so here, number 1, 2, 3, or 12.345. These are both just numbers. Some languages will differentiate these between being an int and a float, but in JavaScript, it's just a number regardless. JavaScript is dynamically typed, so kind of like what I was saying, there's no typing. The number type represents both integers and floating point, and then you can do mathematical operations on those numbers. Besides regular numbers, there are some special numeric values, and it's called infinity, minus infinity, and nan, or not a number. Infinity represents the mathematical infinity. It is a special value that is greater than any number. We can get it as a result of division by 0, or just reference it directly. Nan, or not a number, represents a computational error. It is a result of incorrect or undefined mathematical operation. So you can't divide the string not a number by 2. That just doesn't work. And so we will get not a number as a result of that. Not a number is sticky. Any further mathematical operations on not a number returns not a number. You'll see here they're just showing, not a number plus 1 is that, 3 times is that, and then just another random math thing here. So if there's a not a number somewhere in a mathematical expression, it propagates to the whole result. There's only one exception to that, and that is not a number times 0, which is actually the exponential. So if you do asterisk, asterisk, you're actually saying not a number exponent 0. That will actually return 1. So math in JavaScript is really weird, and you'll run into stuff like this, but we won't dive too deep into that. Just know that floating point math is very difficult, and you do get some weird stuff every now and then. Doing maths is safe in JavaScript. We can do anything, divide by, treat non-numeric strings as numbers. The script will never stop with a fatal error or die. At worst, you'll get not a number. There are some languages where if you do something like this, the program just explodes. JavaScript is not one of those. Special numeric values formally belong to the number type. Of course, they are not numbers in the common sense of the word. We'll see more about working with numbers in the chapter about numbers. In JavaScript, the number type cannot safely represent integer values larger than 2 to the 53rd minus 1. That's this huge, ridiculous number, or the same on the negative side. To be really precise, so like this is a number that you're likely not going to run into too much, but that's as big as it gets. To be really precise, the number type can store larger integers up to 1 point whatever this is times 10 to the 308th power. But outside of the safe integer range, the ones up here, there will be a precision error because not all digits fit into the fixed 64-bit storage. So an approximate value may be stored. So all this is saying is on your computer, there's a certain amount of bits that are allowed for certain things. And so any number above this number or any number over this will have a precision error. So it won't be exact. It'll be pretty close though. So for example, the two numbers right above the safe range are the same. So you'll see we have this exact same number +1 and this exact same number +2, but we get the same output even though that shouldn't happen, right? Well, it's because we're over the limit of what's quote unquote safe. And so we were getting some precision error there. I don't know. I'm not sure if there's like a solution for that if you have numbers that big, but I imagine if you have numbers that big, JavaScript's probably not going to be the language for you. So to say all odd integers greater than that can be stored at all in a number type. For most purposes, this range is quite enough, but sometimes we need the entire range of really big integers for crypto or microsecond precision timestamps. Big int type has recently added to the language to represent integers of arbitrary length. So there you go. So big int value is created by appending n to the end of the integer. So you'll see we have that n at the end there. So that's new. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. So yeah, so if you got numbers bigger than this, add an n to the end of them, and there'll be a big int, and you'll be able to go past. You'll have you won't have that precision error. As big int numbers are rarely needed, we don't cover them here, but devoted them a separate chapter. Read it when you need such big numbers. So yeah, right now, and as always, IE is not supporting it, so whatever. I bet Edge does though. So Can I Use is a good site to see if you can use something. Yeah, so IE, which is fine because IE is not on anything anymore, but Edge does support it. So yeah, this is a nice site. You can check and see like what's supported on which browsers. Or you could have gone to the MDN compatibility table. All right, so a string in JavaScript is just surrounded by quotes. So double quotes or single quotes, or we have the backtick, which on an American or US keyboard is just to the left of the one or just above the left tab. And the reason you would use that is you'll see right here in the middle, we have this interpolation. And so what this does is if you're inside of backtick, so you can't do this in single or double quotes. So we'll just do world. And so here we can do const b. So if we do double quotes, we can do hello. And then if we try this, this isn't going to work. And I'm actually going to do let so I can keep using b. All right, so let's see here. So b is actually that exact string. It just literally is whatever you type in there. And that will be the same if you use single quotes as well. You'll see that we get, oh, got one too many. Oh, duh. So you'll see we get that same thing. But as soon as we do backticks, when JavaScript gets to this $, curly bracket, it's actually going to interpolate it. It's actually going to interpolate it, and you'll see that we get world instead of the $, curly bracket. And so, yeah, so that's called string interpolation. And so that's just an easy way for you to put variables inside of strings. The old way you used to have to do it was this way. You have to do hello plus a plus like that. And that's just a huge pain. So yeah, definitely use string interpolation. It's supported everywhere. So double quotes, back quotes, double and single quotes are simple quotes. There's no difference. Backticks are the ones that I was just showing you. It allows you to interpolate within that string. And really, you can do any JavaScript within that and between those two brackets, and it will be read as JavaScript and it will be interpolated as such. So the expression inside is evaluated and the result becomes a part of the string. We can put pretty much anything in there. You'll see we have the name up here, and in there we just do some simple math. Please note that this can only be done in backticks. Other quotes don't have this embedding functionality, which I just showed you in the console. So here you'll see, yeah, it's just it'll just alert the exact string, kind of like what I was just showing down here. There is no character type. So in a lot of languages, there is a character type, which is just a single letter. That doesn't exist in JavaScript. Like C or Java or Rust or a lot of the like lower level ones have just a char or a character. They're both the same thing. There's only one type string. Yeah, so this is just a very quick dive on this. Each one of these things has a full-on chapter later on, so don't get too caught up if any of this isn't making like 100% sense. And also know that learning this is not about memorization. It's just knowing that you can do something and then Googling and finding out how to do that thing. I've been at my job for coming on 6 years now. I Google all the time. There are guys who have been devs for 20 years that sit on Google the whole time. It's not about memorization. It's just about thinking like an engineer. Okay, so yep, they cover strings more there. Okay, sorry. We already went over all that. All right, let me get a quick drink here. All right. All right, so a Boolean. A Boolean is a logical type. It's just true or false. So the type is commonly used to store yes or no values. And it's going to be the word true or the word false without quotes. Very important. If we do true, that is not the Boolean true. That is the string of true. So, and if you're ever curious, you can always just do type of, and then whatever the variable name is, and it'll let you know what it is. So here we got a string, but there we have a Boolean. So it's very, very important to not have quotes around these if you want them to be a Boolean value. The benefit to them being a Boolean value is when we're doing checks, we can literally just do if and then put in this variable name. And if it's true, that'll pass. If it's not, it'll fail. So it's very, very convenient. Boolean values also come as a result of comparisons. So in here, we're saying is 4 greater than 1. We're going to get is greater is going to be true. So we do 4 greater than 1 is greater, and we get true. And just like if we were to do, the other way around, we would get false. So a lot of times, like if you don't care about the actual values and you just want to know if something is the same as or greater than or less than or any kind of combination of those things, this is a really cool way to just have a Boolean value be in here, and then that makes us checking it later a lot easier. And again, like I said, every single one of these has a whole chapter that we'll go through later. All right. So the null value. The special null value does not belong to any of the types described above. It's a separate type which contains only the null value. In JavaScript, null is not a reference to a non-existing object or a null pointer like in some other languages. It's just a special value which represents nothing or empty, or we don't know what the value is. The code above states that the age is unknown. So yeah, that's just like nothing. So let's say if you wanted to have a value but you weren't sure what it was going to be until later, you could just set it to null. That'd be a good thing. Undefined. Another special value, stands apart. It makes a type of its own, just like null. The meaning of undefined is a value is not assigned yet. So up here, we're assigning the value of null to age, but if we would have if we would have done this, we get undefined because we have this variable, but we haven't assigned it to anything yet. And so that's the difference between null and undefined. Oh, yeah, so pretty much like I just showed. You could explicitly assign undefined to a variable, but I honestly don't see any reason why you would do that. And it looks like they agree with that. Normally one uses null to assign an empty or unknown value to a variable, while undefined is reserved as a default initial value for unassigned things. All right, so that was null and undefined. Objects and symbols. The object type is special. All other types are called primitive types, and that's because their values can contain only a single thing, be it a string or a number or Boolean or whatever. In contrast, objects are used to store collections of data and more complex entities. Being that important, objects deserve special treatment. We'll deal with them later in the chapter, objects, after we learn more about primitives. The symbol type is used to create unique identifiers for objects. We have to mention it here for the sake of completeness, but also postpone the details till we know objects. So yeah, that kind of sucks, but objects are just key value pairs. Again, we'll go over them in that chapter. Type of, which I was just showing you down here in the console, you just do type of whatever the thing, and it'll let you know what it is. The last three lines need additional explanation. So because these are things that are, math is a built-in object and it provides mathematical operations. We'll learn about it in the numbers chapter, but it's an object because it's math is the class or the big object. So like you do math.random. And so because we have this dot random, it's just a big object that has a bunch of things on it. The result of type of null is object. That's an officially recognized error in type of, coming from very early days of JavaScript and kept for compatibility. Definitely null is not an object. It is a special value with a separate type of its own. The behavior of type of is wrong here. And there are some weird things with JavaScript that are just from the old days, back when JavaScript wasn't used like it is today, and you just get used to them. The result of type of alert is function because alert is a function. We'll study functions in the next chapter where we'll see that there's no special function type in JavaScript. Functions belong to object type, but type of treats them differently, returning function. That also comes from the early days of JavaScript. Technically, such behavior is incorrect, but can be convenient in practice. You may also come across another syntax, type of. It's the same as type of, so you don't need the brackets around it. So there's 8 basic data types. So we had number, bigint, string, Boolean, null, undefined, symbol, object. These last 2 we didn't really go into. We will. Type of, perfect. Okay, so what is the output of the script? Let name equal ILYA. All right. So this first one will be hello, Ilya, because we're using backticks and we're, oh no, sorry. So this will just be hello 1 because 1 is just a number. And let's do name equal. All right, and then we'll just do, so all we're doing there is we're interpolating 1, which is just a number, and so it's just putting it in there, so we get hello 1. Here we should get hello Isla because we're interpolating, oh no, I'm wrong again. This will be hello name, and that's because we have these double quotes inside here, so it's interpolating this and it's just a string. And then this one will actually be hello Isla because we don't have the extra quotes in there. We're using backticks and we're interpolating that name. So hello 1, hello name, hello Isla. So I think this has probably been a long one. What are we at? 20. Yeah, so that'll be it for this one. This one was pretty long. Feel free to go back over and watch it again, but really, these are just like the data types. We're going to dive way deeper into all these in their respective chapters. So I wouldn't stress too much if some of this didn't make sense or if some of it went over your head. That's totally cool. We're going to break it down even more when we start building stuff and start actually playing around. So hope you guys learned something today. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.